This is Leadership Beyond, your community of conversation.
But this is the first time in my professional career that everybody, 100% of us, are consciously aware we are engaged in a change initiative.
Yeah, everything. I mean, COVID caused us all to go through change, right? At the same time, but our experiences were so different.
Facing these unprecedented times in isolation is pure insanity. In today's episode, the co-founders, Tom and Adrian, take a look at some of the responses to the listening tour and discuss next steps, possible conversations, and most importantly, to invite you into the conversation. Welcome, Tom and Adrian.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. It's been a little bit since we've done some video, it feels like. So we're happy to be back. Of course, Tom is with me because we don't like to do these things by ourselves.
And Happy New Year. Here it is. The 12th of the year is gone, but we're excited about a new year of conversations.
That's right. So if you have been following along with us over the last couple of weeks, you've noticed that we have been on what we like to call a little bit of a listening tour, although this time it took the form of a poll. And we've been surveying to find out what really are the HR related top of mind topics for business leaders today. And the reason we are doing that solicitation is so that we can shape our upcoming events to be very specifically focused on the things that you're thinking about and you're wanting to work on. And we're hoping that you join us for the pivot of some of our events to be more small group conversations as opposed to the interview style episodes that we've done in the past, although we'll still continue to do those because we look forward to bringing some experts of the topics that we're talking about to you to help to support us all growing together and working on these HR challenges. So do we want to jump into the results, Tom, and start talking people through?
Let's take a peek at where we are and where we're going.
All right, well, let me share my screen and get the results up here. So you've got a little something to look at, and we'll talk you through it for those of you not looking at the visual. So more than half of our respondents have said that employee well-being and engagement is, of these four topics, the most important to them, with a follow of effective work and hybrid reality. You notice that it's not a close follow. So well-being and engagement is the top driver of HR topics for those leaders who've responded to this. What would you say about that, Tom? You've got some reflection.
Well, as I glance at this, what becomes also clear is when you're limited to four topics, which the LinkedIn poll is, that we have to pick pretty broad things. And within any of those four, there's multiple perspective. In a big sense, we all know what engagement is, and we all know what well-being is, and they're clearly related, but they're not the same. So what comes to mind is conversations from differing perspectives about why they picked that topic and what it means to them. And I will quote co-founder Adrian. I'll quote you, Adrian. She says, we're all experiencing the same thing, only differently. And so we care about well-being and engagement, but what does that mean? And we're looking forward to exploring it from multiple perspectives and getting some real suggestions about how you're struggling with it and what kind of things are working and what kind of things to avoid.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that all of these, at least three of the four, are so intertwined. HR as strategic allies might be the one that kind of sits to the sideline a little bit of these other three, because I feel like it's so specific to HR leaders, although it is a business concern. But I think, well-being connected to the return to office policies that companies are considering, or now beginning to really reinforce the policies that were created last year, but maybe had a softer campaign to getting employees back to the office, right? That absolutely is going to impact employee engagement
And I
metrics.
and I have a bias that I'll admit it openly as a bias, but when you look at all of these, self-leadership is essential for any of them. And when we get into a conversation of something someone tried that didn't work, she's going to instantly say, well, here's the adjustment I had to make. And when you ask, why did you have to make it? It's some form of self-awareness that generates the movement toward other awareness. And so what I love is when you see these stats that show here's what the employee, how they rated their skill level. Here's how the HR or executive branch rated their skill level. And there's a gap between the perception and the reality. And I'm looking at my tile, not yours, Adrian. A lot of times I think I'm further along than I am. And so these are interconnected. So we want to hear from multiple perspectives so that we can make the distinctions and bring the resources that will be helpful to your
Yeah.
execution.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dig into, we pulled a few of the comments that were posted along with our LinkedIn poll. And, we won't drain these comments. Of course, they're still out there on LinkedIn. Welcome to read them. But I think what comes to mind as I look at all four of these very thoughtful comments is that they mirror the results that we saw, that employee engagement is so important, and that it's in a lot of ways it's the driver, as it should be, right? It's the driver for all the other business results. If you don't have your people showing up and engaged and understanding what those business goals are for the year, how are we going to be successful in driving to those business goals?
Yeah, and I just the richness of these comments is encouraging that there's gems in here for all of us that can become first awareness, but then very, very actionable. At the individual level, there's a comment about personal responsibility, and then Cheryl Perkins' comment about a culture that's all about doing and how's that impacting how we're being. It's not either or, it's and both. And another topic that came up that wasn't one of the ones that we pulled was every leader has to consider the impact of technology. It's mentioned in Cheryl Brinkley's comment, but it's not a separate topic because it's technology is impacting how we do and how we be, if I may use bad grammar. And
Mm-hmm.
we need to pay attention to it. It's often treated as a separate topic entirely, and I think it's woven in here. How can we
Mm-hmm.
use technology to support what's important to us, but also how can we be on guard that it's not about the technology, it's about human beings interacting with one another. That's the core of leadership.
Yeah, and I think we are on to the brink of really big things when we think about the capabilities of AI and the future of leadership, because when we think about AI, it's not, in my mind anyway, it's not something, obviously we cannot ignore it. It's coming, right? But also it's how can we use it in the most positive sense to free us up to do the human connecting that we know is so important to do, right? So can AI help us to take off some of the repetitive tasks that we have in some ways so that we do have time to do that human connection, the thing that AI can't do for us? And I think that's the balance that we need to find. So I'm excited to talk about the powers of AI, but how do we keep it human
Yeah, and I guess I'm usually not the one to bring the dark side of the moon, but I will hear everything you say I agree with, and yet we know some people are hiding behind the
Yeah.
technology, and it allows them to do less human connecting, or to think they're connected to someone. Like if you
Yes.
have 2,500 Facebook friends, I like to say how many of them would bail
Mm,
you out if you were in jail. That would lower the group. And I'm
mhm,
not being cynical here. I'm saying it's our responsibility to bring the human to our work, and
mhm.
technology can't do that for us. In fact, it
Yeah.
could do the opposite.
And I think that's where Cheryl Brinkley's comment is coming from, right? Because she's framing it around self leadership. So how is it that we're using AI, but also in within the realm of self leadership? So
Well
this is going to
said.
be interesting. I'm so excited to be kind of taking this pivot so that we can really bring the community together this year. And we're looking at different platforms and ways that we can do that easily so that we can together we are able to have these dialogues and conversations and then disperse that information and keep conversations going. Everything that we're doing is electronic. Maybe there'll be a point in time where we do actually get something together in person and share that out. Who knows? Those
Yeah.
possibilities, right?
And I would just want to make a promise and have an ask. So the promise is we will keep you posted and connected as we lead these conversations. And the ask is we invite you to get your voice in the mix. We thank those of you who voted on the LinkedIn poll, but that's just a starting point. If you have an interest in any of these topics, raise your hand and we'll have a conversation. We want the listening tour and the action tour to be cohesive.
Right. So we're looking for clean ways to throw out the solicitation, throw out some sort of sign up so that you're able to easily join us. So stay tuned because we will be pulling all of that together and sharing it soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.